Hello, I'm Harry Catty, and welcome back to Killer Confessions. Tonight, we walk through frosted memories and broken trust to visit a Thanksgiving that turned from gratitude to horror. This is the expanded story of Kelsey Berreth, the soft-spoken pilot who vanished into the thin Colorado air in 2018, and the dark conspiracy that tried to erase her light. Lean in close. Breathe slowly. Because every pause in this tale carries the echo of footsteps that were never heard again. Kelsey loved the sky long before she had the license to touch it. Born among the hay-sweet fields of Moses Lake, Washington, she spent childhood evenings lying on wagon blankets, tracing jet trails with a straw of wheat clenched between her teeth. Neighbors remember a little girl who could name every passing bird, but rarely boasted about her own dreams. At 14, she took her first discovery flight over the Columbia Basin, felt the engine's hum rush through her ribs, and told her mother, This feels like purpose." The cockpit became both classroom and confessional, a place where she whispered secret hopes to the horizon. Flight instructors praised her ice water cool when crosswinds bullied small Cessnas. Classmates sought her notes before exams. By 23, she had earned her commercial rating and a reputation for precision that made older pilots nod with respect. In her worn leather logbook, next to altitude figures, she scribbled quotes from Amelia Earhart and Psalm 139, proof that faith and machinery could coexist 4,500 feet above farmland. Yet adventure, she wrote, requires both lift up and risk. That restless imagination set the stage for everything to come. Patrick Frazee entered her story the way thunder follows summer heat. Sudden, unstoppable. He was a third-generation Colorado rancher. Calloused palms, Marlboro voice, an easy smile that stopped just short of his eyes. His life rhythm was sunrise feedings and moonlit foalings, punctuated by rodeo weekend glory. They met online in 2016, farmersonly.com, a digital barn dance, 2 profiles mentioning quarter horses, black coffee, and a fondness for silent places. Kelsey saw in Patrick the grounded steadiness she believed she lacked. Patrick saw in Kelsey the wings he would never grow. Perhaps he imagined clipping them from the start. What neither recognized, at least not aloud, was the fracture line already running beneath their first hello. Long-distance love stretches thin, even healthy hearts, and theirs carried separate rhythms from the start. Phone calls ran past midnight, sometimes sweet, sometimes edged with static disagreements over whose turn it was to travel. Weekend visits at Patrick's fluorescent ranch came with chores, mending fence, bottle-feeding calves as if she were auditioning for permanence. 6 months later, Kelsey packed the last of her Moses Lake Relics yearbooks, Arrowhead collection, her grandfather's Bible, and pointed her Subaru toward Woodland Park, believing Colorado would be both canvas and cure. Friends waved goodbye, thinking she was chasing romance. But Kelsey wrote in her diary, "I'm chasing horizon, not a ring." Still, Patrick proposed under a summer thunderhead, sliding a modest diamond onto her aviation calloused hand. She said yes, though her voice, according to a friend, sounded thoughtful, not giddy. Adventure soon found them in diapers and midnight feedings. Kaylee, a tiny miracle born in October 2017, 6 pounds, 11 ounces. Lungs like church bells filled Kelsey's life with lullaby turbulence. But the couple never stitched their addresses together. Patrick claimed ranch demands. Cattle don't punch clocks. Kelsey, juggling 11-hour shifts at DOS Aviation, decided proximity wasn't proof of devotion she'd make it work. Parenthood highlighted their differences like sunrise through stained glass. Patrick believed babies belonged on the hip of their mother, not buckled into daycare. Kelsey believed Kaylee deserved both steady love and a mother who pursued her calling beyond nursery walls. Text messages later retrieved show Patrick criticizing her for valuing hours in the sky over hours on the ground, while Kelsey counters, "We're building a future for her. Together." Yet the togetherness seldom materialized. Neighbors recall Patrick's red pickup parked outside Kelsey's condo only a handful of nights each month. Meanwhile, Kelsey's inner circle noticed circles beneath her eyes growing darker symptoms of someone flying routes by day and soothing colic by night, alone. Thanksgiving, she hoped, would reset their compass. In group text, she promised sweet potato casserole and pumpkin pies flown in from Washington orchards. "Kaylee will taste her first cranberry sauce," she joked, adding a smiling emoji that did little to mask fatigue. November 22nd, 2018. Colorado brewed a postcard morning, thin sunlight, air crisp enough to snap. Security cameras at the local Safeway captured Kelsey at 12:06 p.m. pushing a red cart. Kaylee bundled in a car seat perched over canned cranberry sauce. She checks her phone once, possibly reading Patrick's text confirming plans to meet, then lifts a bouquet of mini roses and smelling petals as though inhaling courage. That footage became the last uncontested proof of life. Shortly after noon, Patrick says they met in the gravel alley behind her townhome. He claims Kelsey was off, depressed, asked for space, handed him Kaylee with the subdued politeness of two polite strangers. He says he returned her handgun, keys, a stack of old love letters, closure tied up with twine. He says he left her alive at 12:47 p.m., watching mother and daughter wave from the doorway. He says, "But phones remember better than people lie." Detectives would later reconstruct those fatal minutes using a ballet of science and imagination. The tiny living room still smelled of apple cinnamon candle, a scent prosecutors argued Patrick used to mask iron tang of blood. A Bobby Flay cookbook lay open to herb-roasted turkey as though Thanksgiving dinner had been mid-stride. Beside it, a handwritten note in Kelsey's looping script read, "Remember to thank Patrick for the cornbread, an irony so cruel, jurors flinch during evidence photos." Child psychologists testified about potential trauma to Kaylee, now subconscious, having napped yards away while her mother pleaded, "Please, stop." Experts in blood pattern analysis explained how cast-off arcs on the wall suggested at least 10 swings. Each pause, between blows possibly echoing Kelsey's desperate breathing. Coroners estimated she would have lost consciousness by the third strike. Yet Patrick continued rage, eclipsing mercy. The silence after violence can be louder than the violence itself. Neighbors later confessed they'd heard something heavy drop, but assumed it was furniture shifting for holiday guests. Kelsey Berreth lives 600 miles away, yet measures her daughter's well-being by the cadence of daily texts. Thanksgiving night, she received none, but dismissed it maybe Kelsey fell asleep rocking Kaylee. Friday morning, silence. Saturday, voicemail. Sunday, worry nestling like ice in her chest. By December 2nd, she dialed Woodland Park Police. Voice trembling, "My daughter isn't answering. That isn't like her." Officer Plaka knocking on Kelsey's door. Found lights off. Thanksgiving decorations still taped to window pane. A partially eaten cinnamon roll on the counter. Kelsey loved cinnamon rolls. Never left one unfinished. The treat had half-hardened icing as though time itself stalled mid-bite. Patrick's response was casual. Too casual. He told police. Probably she went somewhere to clear her head. He hadn't called, hadn't posted missing flyers, and hadn't alerted Kelsey's flight school to cover her shifts. He also declined to stand beside Cheryl at the televised plea for help, citing ranch duties. Something in his posture whispered guilt before words could confirm. Detectives subpoenaed cell tower records, modern oracle speaking in pings. Yes, both phones hit the same tower near Kelsey's home around the noon exchange point for Patrick. But by sunset, data showed the devices traveling together toward Cripple Creek, then hovering near Patrick's ranch in Florissant over the next 2 days. A security camera at a gas station on Highway 67 captured Patrick's red truck towing a small trailer at 5:11 p.m. Thanksgiving. A trailer witnesses would later say smelled of gasoline and wet copper coins. On November 25th, Kelsey's phone leapt, states pinging near Gooding, Idaho, where she had no friends. No flights, no reason to roam. Investigators now believed the phone, not Kelsey, crossed borders alive in circuitry, dead in purpose. Camera footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera delivered the final blow. 1:23 p.m. Thanksgiving, Kelsey unlocking her door. Patrick right behind. Kaylee's baby blanket draped over his shoulder. Doors opened. Closed. Opened again. But only Patrick exited at 4:30 p.m., carrying what looked like a plastic tote and a rolled rug. Kelsey's silhouette never reemerged. Detective Hazelhurst later testified. That moment, seeing her go in and never come out, turned theory into certainty. News of the missing pilot spread faster than mountain wildfire. Within 48 hours, Woodland Park transformed into a hub of orange-vested volunteers. Search and rescue trucks rumbled along logging roads. Cadaver dogs sniffed frozen underbrush on hands and knees. Handlers prayed would stay empty. The Air Force, where Kelsey once taught students to bank Cessnas, dispatched fixed-wing aircraft with Falair cameras, heat-seeking eyes slicing through evergreens. Local churches opened fellowship halls, serving chili to exhausted searchers while choir members hummed Amazing Grace. Billboards from Denver to Durango flashed Kelsey's smile, the reward total climbing past $50,000 as strangers donated paychecks. Yet, for every poster stapled to a light pole, Patrick remained oddly silent, raising coffee to his lips at a Florissant diner while patrons whispered behind menus. Investigators observed, cameras clicked, the nation waited. Search warrants peeled back the calm veneer of Kelsey's home. Toiletry bag, untouched toothbrush, baby clothes folded for the week, IDs and credit cards still in her purse, oddly missing, though her Jeep sat outside. But the bath mat was gone, and faint rust-colored freckles dotted the light switch, towel bar, ceiling above the toilet. Luminol glowed like ghostly handwriting, tiny meteors across porcelain spelling fear on every square inch. Testing confirmed the splatter belonged to Kelsey. Analysts mapped patterns indicating blunt force trauma at medium velocity consistent with a baseball bat. Now, investigators no longer chased a missing woman. They hunted her killer. Every murder story eventually reveals an accomplice, a Judas, to the original sin. Crystal Lee Kenny was that shadow. A former rodeo queen, nurse anesthetist, and mother of two who once rode the circuit alongside Patrick at college ag events. She lived in Twin Falls, Idaho, yet her phone linked arms with Patrick's in dozens of clandestine calls that November. When federal agents first knocked on her door, she lied with the reflex of someone drowning. No, she didn't know Kelsey. Yes, she still talked to Patrick, but only about horses. The facade collapsed when her friend Michelle Stein produced text messages reading like pulp fiction. Patrick wants me to take care of the baby mama. Under the weight of evidence and perhaps her own conscience, Crystal confessed. The tale she told chilled seasoned detectives. September 2018. Patrick presents Crystal with a Starbucks cup and a plastic bag of white pills. Instructs her to spike Kelsey's caramel macchiato with Ambien and Valium. Crystal drives the 400 miles to Colorado. Sits in her truck outside Kelsey's condo. Heart detonating in her chest. And after 30 minutes of panic, drives back north, the coffee still steaming. October, Patrick mails her a steel pipe wrapped in butcher paper, like a grotesque gift. One good swing, he promises. She parks near Kelsey's flight school, watches the young mother laugh with a student, cannot lift the weapon. She throws the pipe into a dumpster behind a Taco Bell. Early November, aluminum baseball bat. Third time's the charm, he taunts. Crystal again aborts, ghosting Patrick for a week. Depression and fear wrestling under her nurse's scrubs. Each failure tightens Patrick's impatience like barbed wire. He texts, "You either do it, or I do, son." Crystal's phone rings at 4:30 p.m. on Thanksgiving. Patrick's voice ragged. "I've got a mess. Bring your cleaning stuff." He instructs her to bring bleach, trash bags, and a hazmat suit if she can find one. 2 days later, she crosses 2 state lines under the pretense of visiting family bleach bottles clinking in the trunk. Her children left with her ex-husband. Inside Kelsey's townhouse, she finds a horror all the bleach in Colorado cannot absolve. Blood spatter arcs across nursery books. A tiny tooth near the fireplace. Child-sized socks soaked burgundy. The overpowering odor iron and citrus forces her to gag behind a surgical mask. For 4 hours, she scrubs, spraying industrial cleaner while the scent of copper rises from the grout. She flips couch cushions, wipes ceiling fan blades, and even dusts fake houseplants for flecks invisible to the naked eye. She bags blood-specked stuffed animals, wipes Kaylee's tiny handprints off the high chair, all while sobbing apologies to a woman already gone. Later that night, in a barn behind Patrick's house, they hoist a black contractor bag Kelsey's body onto a metal trough used for branding fires. Diesel, motor oil, old tires. Flames roar sky high in devouring evidence and innocence alike. Patrick stirs the pyre with a pitchfork as though turning compost. Crystal turns away, nausea eclipsing fear. Ash settles on frost-kissed pasture grass, silent headstones for an unmarked grave. Patrick keeps a fragment of bone she later confesses like a trophy. When investigators search the ranch mid-December, the fire pit still whispers secrets. Sifting through charred rubble, they discover a single human tooth root. Kelsey's DNA sealed in enamel. Nearby lies a scorched baby book, a singed page reading Kaylee's first word. Investigators choke back anger. A bleach bottle half full leans against a wall like an exhausted witness. Beside it, agents find a notepad titled Kaylee's Future, listing medical proxy names Patrick's mother, Crystal, even a next-door neighbor, but conspicuously omitting Kelsey. Dated December 12th. A signature from a man planning life after murder. Forensic anthropologist Dr. Diane France sifted through the ash using dental picks usually reserved for delicate Civil War excavations. She cataloged 3 bone fragments smaller than a thumbnail, 1 titanium screw likely from a dental implant, and melted fibers matching the missing bath mat. Each discovery was photographed, bagged, and logged until the evidence board resembled a jigsaw composed of fire and sorrow. Dr. France told the court, "Fire thinks it erases stories, but chemistry remembers everything." Analytical chemists detected traces of potassium nitrate common in fertilizer, suggesting Patrick fortified the burn with homemade accelerant. Blood found on the mop handle back at the townhouse contained a degraded mix of Kelsey's DNA, and tellingly, Patrick's skin cells at points where gloves would have slipped. The state's narrative hardened, he killed. She cleaned. They burned. December 21st, 2018. Snow crunches under tactical boots as agents surround Patrick's ranch. He wears denim and defiance, yet smiles fade quickly in handcuffs. Charged with first-degree murder, solicitation of murder, and tampering with a corpse, he enters jail already plotting escape. From his cell, he scribbles a 16-name hit list: Kelsey's mother, Crystal, investigators, witnesses passing it to a fellow inmate he believes has gang connections. But prison walls have ears. The list becomes prosecution gold. illustrating consciousness of guilt. A deputy later testifies. He thought murder was a fix-all solution outside and inside prison. November 2019, Teller County Courthouse fills with reporters, ranchers in dusty boots, flight students in uniform blue, and mourners clutching programs with Kelsey's photo. Crystal, in shackles, recounts her role with shaky breaths, tears pooling every few sentences. Prosecutor Jennifer Veman lays out a timeline built of cell records, surveillance video, forensic mapping, each exhibit a brick sealing Patrick's fate. Defense attorneys paint Crystal as the real killer, a jealous mistress seeking leniency. But physical evidence and Crystal's own failed murder attempt show complicity, not authorship of the final blow. The state plays Kaylee's giggle, caught on a neighbor's baby monitor at 1:52 p.m. Thanksgiving. Prosecutors pause, letting jurors imagine that laugh echoing while her mother lay dying feet away. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Some jurors wipe eyes. After 3.5 hours, the jury foreman announces guilty on all counts. Judge Scott Sells, voice solemn, sentences Patrick to life without parole plus 156 years. As shackles rattle, Patrick still refuses to reveal where he scattered the remaining fragments of Kelsey's bones. Cable networks camped outside the courthouse satellite dishes blooming like metallic daisies. True crime podcasts dissected every cell tower ping, every misspelled text message, and building theories faster than prosecutors could redact documents. Social media galvanized under hashtags #FindKelsey and #JusticeForKaylee. Pilots across America placed small teddy bears in cockpit jump seats, posting photos tagged "Empty right seat for Kelsey." Talk show hosts debated whether Crystal's plea deal represented justice or betrayal audiences divided between sympathy and outrage. Colorado lawmakers quietly cited the case while drafting new domestic violence risk laws, expanding the definition of coercive control. Even after verdict, Netflix optioned documentary rights ensuring the sorrow would stream indefinitely, both honoring and commodifying Kelsey's life. Crystal's cooperation spares her a potential life sentence. In exchange for testimony, she pleads guilty to evidence tampering, receives 3 years, later reduced to 18 months after an appellate correction. The judge admonishes her, "Your hands cleaned blood, and no amount of bleach will wash your conscience." She exits prison in March 2021, a free woman carrying the weight of a mother she helped erase. Kaylee, now 6, lives with Kelsey's parents in Washington. They shield her from documentaries and headlines, raise her among the same alfalfa fields that once cradled her mother's childhood. Some nights, Cheryl steps outside, looks up at passing jets, whispers, "I'm keeping my promise. Kels." On the anniversary of Kelsey's disappearance, local pilots perform a missing man flyover, white smoke curling into question marks across blue sky. Freedom did not taste sweet to Crystal Kenny. Reporters tailed her silver sedan through Idaho streets, microphones pressed against half-lowered windows while she whispered no comment. Former rodeo peers wrote open letters condemning her actions, saying the Queen's crown is forever tarnished. Her nursing license was suspended. Hospitals issued statements distancing themselves from aiding or employing individuals involved in crimes of moral turpitude. At a Boise church meeting, she confessed to a pastor that nightmares visited like clockwork Kelsey's voice asking, "Why did you wipe me away?" The pastor counseled repentance and community service. Crystal now spends Thursdays stocking shelves at a women's shelter, each can of soup a fragile apology. Legally, she is free. Spiritually, she serves a life sentence visible only to her own eyelids every time she tries to sleep. Kelsey's story isn't merely about a monster in cowboy boots. It's about ignored intuition, about digital breadcrumbs that refuse burial, about the lengths one person may travel to control another. It is a reminder that evil often wears everyday flannel, tipping its hat at the grocery store. And Crystal's reduced sentence forces uncomfortable questions. How far should mercy stretch for accomplices who scrub blood to save themselves? Is 18 months enough for burning a human being? Or does justice require ashes of its own? Yet, within darkness, threads of light remain. Kaylee, though motherless, is surrounded by grandparents who turn grief into lullabies. Investigators refuse to close the file on recovering Kelsey's remains. Volunteers still comb forests each spring, armed with hope and metal detectors. The sky Kelsey loved continues to carry her memory, every contrail a white ribbon reminding us that lives can ascend and plummet within a single holiday afternoon. Out of every tragedy, the living must distill wisdom lest pain recycle in new names and addresses. Investigators now train rookie officers using the Berreth case as a blueprint for digital evidence speed. Dispatchers are taught to treat out-of-state missing person calls with the same urgency as local crises. Colorado expanded mandatory reporting windows for intimate partner disappearances. Airlines instituted peer support hotlines for pilots juggling postpartum pressures. Domestic abuse advocates urge friends to notice subtle isolations, separate homes, sudden critiques, the steady erosion of confidence. Evil, one therapist notes, often starts as inconvenience. For the rest of us, the lesson is to honor intuition, those small alarms in the heart, because ignoring them can cost more than discomfort. It can cost flesh, blood, future birthdays, and... Before we sign off, I invite you wherever you're listening to lift your eyes for a moment. Imagine Kelsey's favorite vantage point, a powder blue canopy stretching beyond time zones. Picture her co-piloting an angel wing craft, banking left toward places where Thanksgiving never ends and fear cannot follow. Feel the hush of altitude, the peace that surpasses understanding, and hold Kaylee in that same gentle wind, charting a course through grief into resilience. May this story ignite both caution and compassion. May it remind us to intervene, to ask the extra question, to offer a couch, a ride, a safe midnight call. And may we never forget the names behind statistics, because remembrance is the only resurrection we can provide after justice is done. What are your thoughts, friends? Do Patrick's life sentence and Crystal's short stint behind bars serve justice? Does the system offer enough warning signs for victims tangled with coercive lovers? Type your reflections below. Let conversation become memorial. Until next time, stay aware, trust your gut, and remember that behind normal walls, secrets can roar like furnace fire. This has been Killer Confessions. I'm Harry Catty, signing off.